Montgomery Community Media presents Small Business Network, brought to you by M&T Bank. SBN is also sponsored by Montgomery County Economic Development Corporation and Leadership Montgomery.
Hello and welcome to the Small Business Network, brought to you by M&T Bank. My name is Kelly Leonard. In addition to being the CEO of Taylor Leonard Corporation, I have the privilege and honor of hosting this monthly program, which is really designed to just bring the business community together to connect, to collaborate, and to share best practices in an effort to stimulate regional economic development. This morning, we've got Secretary of Commerce, Maryland Department of Commerce Secretary Mike Gill as our guest, and we're going to be talking about this whole economic development and the state of Maryland and all that good stuff. But before we get into our conversation, I just want to give a glimpse into who Mike Gill is. So I'm going to read your quick bio. Mike Gill was tapped by Governor Larry Hogan to lead the Maryland Department of Commerce in January of 2015. Prior to his appointment, Mike was chairman and principal of Evergreen Advisors. He previously founded Hoyt Capital, an investment advisory firm serving startups and growth companies. Gill earned a BS in business administration from Towson University in '74 after attending Clemson University. So welcome.
Got my orange tie on today. Football season's coming.
You know, I'm super excited to have you here because I've had an opportunity to just get to know you as an individual. And it's so funny because you meet politicians. You're not a traditional politician. You're just you're just a nice guy. I just love having conversation with you. And that's not to say that all politicians aren't nice people, but let's hop into questions. So,
no, thank you, Kelly. It's great to be here.
Thank you for being here. Thank you so much.
Super.
So what, in your opinion, makes Maryland a special place when you talk about business and economic development?
Everything. And you need to know right up front, well, you don't, but I had a meeting yesterday with the Commerce Cabinet, which I'll make some remarks about this morning. But I said to them, as I made some opening remarks at our Commerce Cabinet meeting, I said, usually I'm a glass of water's half full guy. I said, I'm moving it up, 3/4 full. There's always room to be better, yeah. But here in the state of Maryland, when you try to look at what does a great place look like to be successful, for a state to be successful, for the businesses to be successful, first you do have to have good assets. You need good assets. We've got the best. There's 50 states. You can make a business case that we're as strong on our assets as any in the country. And we have the great life sciences, we have great cyber, we have a fantastic aerospace industry, manufacturing, healthcare, IT. So we have great industries, which means lots of jobs. Where we're located, we have a great location. We're near Washington, we're to the north is Philly and New York, and you also need a quality of life opportunity. And we have great assets there. If you and I want to take a ride, about an hour and a half to 2 hours, we're in the mountains. If we want to go that way about 3 hours, we'll go down to the beach and enjoy that. And then in between the lakes and the Chesapeake Bay and all these other great resources. And then a business environment. A business environment, as I said to our friend a little bit earlier today, one where government and the role that we might play, we're your ally and never your adversary.
Right.
We're at your back. How can we help you be successful? And then create an environment that a business can be successful in, as it relates to the regulations, as it relates to how businesses are treated by government. So that's a lot of, there's so many positive things about Maryland.
And so one thing, because you mentioned something about being, your ally.
Yeah,
and the thing that I love about you, back when I first met you a while back,
it was like yesterday.
I know, it feels like yesterday. You handed me this card, the Big Six, and on the back of it, it says, "From behind the desk is a dangerous place from which to view the world." And so much of what I love about you is this fact that you do, it's your desire to get out and meet and shake hands and get to know the businesses. And so tell me, of the Big Six, is there a particular aspect of the Big Six that really resonates with you that you'd like to share with us?
Well, I'll give you a quick comment about From Behind the Desk. I discovered these little these little witticisms, these little motivational things back in '89 in a Fortune magazine issue. And there was an individual at the time, CEO of American Express, named Lou Gerstner, who eventually went on to be chairman of IBM. And the writer said he was looking up at the wall in Lou Gerstner's office and he saw a plaque. And it said, "From behind the desk is a dangerous place from which to view the world." And in a role like mine, which I've loved, I didn't spend a day in government in my life, Kelly. The joke I like to tell, and it's really not a joke, I was sad at the time, is when I ran for student body president at Calvert Hall, my high school, and I came in second. And, you know, and at the time I was devastated, but I've been able to get over it.
Because you're like, look at me now.
Yeah, you know, 40, 50 years of counseling, you can get over anything. But I get into this position. Governor Hogan was the one who gave me the opportunity when he said, "Hey, Mike, have you ever thought about being Secretary of Commerce?" Now, the true story is when he said that to me, I said, "Gov, that wasn't on my radar screen." But I'm sure glad that he gave me the opportunity and that my wife didn't say no. But what we've tried to do, if we did one of those if we did a reflection show, like what have you been doing for 4 years, Mike, to move the needle for business in Maryland? The first thing we attempted to do, it wasn't an attempt, I knew we could do it, is create a culture of yes. So I think when it comes to whether it's as I've said to folks, in the state of Maryland, pick a number, 450,000, 460,000 businesses. They follow it, they have a tax ID, they file a tax return. They may or may not get a Christmas card from Peter Franchot, the controller, but they're a business. And they could be two individuals who own an ice cream shop on Baltimore Avenue in Cumberland. Or it could be the Marriott Corporation. But the common denominators are all businesses. And just like you all have customers, and if you're a customer, don't you say to your customer, "How can I help you?"
Right.
And then when the customer has a request, you say yes.
Right.
So the culture of yes really is one where we travel the state. It not only became part of our DNA in commerce, but it is really spread throughout all the other agencies as well.
Oh, nice.
The culture of yes. And in the simplest of terms, it really means if you were to call me up tomorrow and say, "Mike, there's a business issue that we're dealing with at MCM and I'd like to get your help." Before you even got into it, I'd say yes. You say, "Well, it might be really tough." I said, "So what? Doesn't matter." And the thing I learned about yes is that 8 out of 10 times when you take that attitude towards solving something, you'll get it done.
Absolutely.
Number 9, a little trickier. Number 10, can't get there. So from behind the desk, you get out, you meet people like today, being with you, seeing these great folks, learn what really is on their mind, and then do the very best we can to keep working on creating an environment that is as positive as it can be.
So you mentioned the culture of yes.
Yep.
Are there any other strategies when you look at how the state is
Yeah.
approaching job creation and
Yep.
economic development? What has changed over your time being in office?
You know, Kelly, I think the ingredients that go into making something, I think the ingredients were probably out there somewhere, sitting on a shelf, sitting on a table, sitting in a box. But you got to pull them together. You know, the ingredients as it relates to programs.
Okay.
Programs for small businesses, for example, programs that might help a manufacturer, programs that might support job growth of a company through tax credits for training, let's say. The coordination, the collaboration, the cooperation, all those C words. But when I talk about that, there's another expression we started using from the beginning. And now people use it, it's great, people use it all over the state. Economic development is a team sport. And to really be great, it takes, it takes a village.
Yes.
But to be great in economic development, to be great here in Montgomery County, we can set a tone at commerce relative to the state, but we have a young lady who's on the ground in Montgomery County, who's part of our team. She's outstanding. She works with the economic development folks at Montgomery County Economic Development Corporation. So we're a team. We don't have different objectives.
Right.
And like everything else in life, because I've never been able to get anything done by myself. I was a pitcher in baseball. That's how I ended up down at Clemson. I went there on a baseball scholarship. All I know is there were a lot of games where somebody that I won, but guys hit the ball really hard and somebody caught it. So it sort of says the
And
team.
it wasn't you, right?
And it wasn't me. It was one of those look-aways. So what have we done to try to be different? We have programs, workforce development. You know, if I did a show of hands and I said, how many of the folks here, workforce, finding people is either your first or second, hottest topic, I bet you most of the hands would go up.
Right.
We don't have it solved yet. And I don't know if you ever really do solve workforce. I guess you solve workforce if we ever have to go through another 09, 010, that crazy period of a lot of our lives. I guess that's how you can solve workforce issues. We don't want that. So from a standpoint, though, of working with everyone on the key issues that drive businesses, we work as a team. And those agencies, the transportation and the environment and housing and labor, license and regulation, no silos. We say all the time, no silos. If there's an opportunity, it's going to take 3 or 4 of those agencies working together. We're going to work together, as opposed to solve one problem that takes too long and then go run down the hall and let's spend another year solving another problem. Let's go fast. So I think sense of urgency is another part of what we try to do.
So then on the business outreach side, what are you all doing? What are some of the specific ways that you're engaging or interacting to understand the pulse of what some of the needs are in the business community? What does outreach look like?
Yeah, you do it. There's these expressions. You see, as you said when you read that little bio, I think you left out, which was fine by me, with over 4 decades of experience.
We could see that you're seasoned. I figured I could leave that out.
I was going to say, people would introduce me, and I'd say, that guy's been around a long time. No, but an expression that I love, and is that excellence is not doing one thing 1,000% better. It's doing 1,000 things 1% better. So there's no magic program that has changed the world of business in Maryland. It's a whole bunch of things that you do. I mean, for example, at Department of Commerce, we have regional representatives. The regional reps, we have 12 individuals. We have 24 jurisdictions in the state of Maryland, 23 counties in Baltimore City. We have individuals who work with those counties. They work with the economic development leadership of those counties. They work with the businesses of those counties. We have something we call our Platinum 500, where we've done the best we can to identify throughout the state those 500 businesses. They're not all big businesses, but 500 companies who we think we need to just be more proactive relative to reaching out to them proactively, saying, how are we doing? Are we being responsive to your needs? And we're doing this all over the state. And we're doing it in a structured way so we get real feedback. And what's kind of neat is because businesses really care when you reach out like that, is often the CEOs of these enterprises, they'll say to their people, hey, when the commerce people have that meeting, I want to be at the meeting because I really want to listen, I want to share things that are on my mind. So that's just a program that reaches out. And then of course all the various things that we have, such as the Maryland Tech Council with 700 plus members and all the various chambers, having an opportunity to be here today with you and this great group of business folks from Montgomery County. It's from behind the desk again. Right. You keep learning. And then we have and then of course, if you're going to be great, I can wake up every day and be focused on these things, but it's important that your business partner, the CEO of Maryland, Larry Hogan, shares the same values. And Larry, the Gov comes from the same point of view as I do. I introduced him back in 3 years ago at a dinner in Annapolis, and so it's a pretty big crowd of people, and I'm looking over at him because I was going to try to be a little funny, and I was just, and I know he has a sense of humor, but I wanted to double check. Like, is he laughing? I better not try that one. But so I introduced him. I said, now think about it. The governor of the state and the Secretary of Commerce, between the two of us, We don't have one day in government in our lives. I hope that doesn't make all of you nervous. But I think it's probably been one of the strengths is just use common sense, be real, be rational about things. Yeah. So from that standpoint, you do need a business partner, the CEO of the state, who really shares the same views relative to customers, relative to customer service, things of that nature. So again, it's a lot of programs, it's a lot of people. I was always a hard worker, so he's got the hardest job, the gov. Yeah. But I've loved this. I've loved every minute of it. I'd been in the job a couple months, Kel, real quick one. So the phone kept ringing one night. Kept ringing. I got home about 7. Kept ringing. I answered it. Hi, Mike Gill. And it was customers. It was somebody I gave my business card to. My business card has my mobile. And I tell them, call me. And they do. So my wife goes, Mike, do you give everybody your mobile number? And I said, I do. And then she paused a little while longer. She goes, Mike, you get paid for this job, don't you? I said, I do. On an hourly basis, it's not very high, but it works out.
So you brought up, when we look at a state, and we focused primarily so far in our conversation on the state, but what do you think makes Montgomery County uniquely special, poised, position? I mean, and not to discredit any of the other counties, because we know they're all wonderful, but they're not Montgomery County. Well, so we'll just keep this conversation between you and I. So just share with us what, in your opinion, makes Montgomery County amazing.
Well, I talked about at state level, we started off talking about the great assets, as it relates to industry, as it relates to quality of life, as it relates to location. I didn't say education, but we could do 6 shows on just education. Right. So when you step back and you look at Montgomery County, look at it on a macro level, and then you can take it down. Do you check the box for great job opportunities in Montgomery County? Significantly. There's 28 federal government agencies. I mean, there's not a state in the country that has half that many. When you're fortunate enough to have an NIST, NIST, and you have an FDA, and you have an NIH, and you have all the others, so you can check the box relative to great jobs. You can check the box relative to great education. It's one of those jurisdictions where the schools are so good that families don't have to think about, where are we going to come up with $30,000 so that our child can go to St. Albans, or. Of course, that's probably just for the first semester, right? Right. So you can check the box for that. Right. You can check the box relative to diversity. It's tremendously diverse, and tremendously well educated. The number of scientists, the number of engineers, the number of professionals per capita, there's nothing like it. So you look at all the above, and you say to yourself, that sounds like a formula for success. But one of the things that I talk about often, I talk about it when I get a chance to, I didn't know so many, there's so many people I didn't know 4 years ago. I didn't know Ike Leggett. I knew who he was, but now it's, hey Mike, hey Ike, and he calls me up and I call him up. But one of the things that I talk about whenever I'm with leadership of the counties, whether it's Caroline or Somerset, where there's 25,000 people, and the average family income is half of what it is in Montgomery County, I do ask the same question of all of them, and that is, what's your potential? And it's the same question that I would ask of Ike, I would ask of the leadership of the Economic Development Commission, I'd ask of the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce and cool folks like Gigi Godwin and my buddy Jim Young over at the Marriott Corporation, and that is, what's our potential? And then get people to start talking about what's our potential. And I think the other thing is that's vitally important as far as an opportunity, and that is the strongest jurisdictions are the ones that are the most together. It's almost as if we had a table in the center of this room, and we said, if we want to be great in economic development, who needs to be at that table? And all of a sudden, and by the way, you know who should be at that table? You wouldn't necessarily think about it? The nonprofits. They are very, very important
Yes.
to every economy. So there's a seat at the table for leadership in nonprofit. There's a seat at the table for community leaders. There's a seat at the table for the economic development leadership. There's a seat at the table for the people in education in Montgomery County. All of them. And when you get a people together like that, your opportunities are unlimited. They're unlimited. So I think for Montgomery County, we check the boxes. I think the opportunity is to continue to work together in trying to have a vision for what are those 4 things that if we could be great, what are they? And what are we doing to get there?
Right.
That type of thing.
Awesome. Well, in a moment, well, actually, if anyone in the audience has a question that you'd like to ask Mike, please feel free to make your way to the microphone. So the floor is open. And as we continue our conversation, so we talked about industries.
Yeah.
So biohealth, life sciences, all those good industries.
Cyber.
Yeah, cyber. What is the state doing to help grow and expand those industries?
Yeah, boy. Well, one initiative that's been underway for some time now, Governor launched it May a year ago. We call it Excel Maryland, where we really brought together a group of people, of leadership, such as Ron Daniels at Johns Hopkins and Bob Corrett, Chancellor of the System of Maryland, and people from industry and people who are influencers and focused on our cyber assets, focused on our assets in life sciences and biohealth, and then expanded beyond that, IT. But to really look at and say, we think we know today, where are we relative to other states? What do we need to do to be able to reinforce our current strengths, but then take it to the next level? So as it relates to looking at issues of funding in the area of life sciences, such as labs, as it relates to the issue which is always out there of capital. You know, you all know about capital. You know what? Just to get a loan that can take my business from where I am to the next level. You know, just same concept, except add a zero, add a couple zeros. So creating more sources of capital for businesses in not just in those industries, life sciences and cyber, but also, you know, all industry sectors. So aggregation of capital is another key area. Excel Maryland really is meant to have a plan, stay focused on being the best. You can make a business case that we're 4th or 5th in the nation relative to our strength around life sciences. Governor Hogan kind of laughed when somebody said, "Hey Gov, our goal is to be number 3 by 2021. He goes, "What kind of a cheer would that make?"
We're number 3.
We're number 3. We're number 3. And you know what? He's right. It's like really to be number 3. But again, programmatically, it's not good enough to have just the assets. What are we doing to reinforce and grow those assets? And in the area of cyber, we say all the time, and the Gov now uses the remarks when he talks about cyber, and that is that Maryland is the cyber capital of the world. And we can make that business case. And cyber is really big.
Yeah.
I wish I could say that it's a word that'll disappear from our vocabulary in the next 25 years, but probably not.
No.
So it's for real. I was with some executives, as I mentioned earlier, from Exelon yesterday, and they said that every board meeting, it's an agenda item.
Yeah.
It's an agenda item for every large corporation in America. You know,
Large and small, right?
It's got to be.
Yeah.
You know, small businesses are looking now at how do they protect their assets.
Yes.
You know, what could happen from a cyber attack that could affect their business.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So as we think about small business and then even entrepreneurship in the state of Maryland, like what's being done to really foster and support and help the development of entrepreneurs, small to medium sized businesses? Because I know oftentimes as a small business, me being a small business owner myself, sometimes you think that, oh, well, if I'm not in life sciences or biohealth, like you feel like the redheaded stepchild almost.
Yeah.
So what's the state doing to help that foster that entrepreneurial spirit?
Yeah, I'll give you a handful of examples, Kel. We have a position that we created when we came into these roles 4 years ago. I call it Director of Innovation and Education. Because I had the good fortune back in the middle part of the 2000s to be on the University System of Maryland Board of Regents. And back then, 04, 05, 06, we still thought of economic development as something separate from education. It was like an agenda item, economic development, when in fact, education and economic development are one and the same. So the idea of having somebody that wakes up in the morning who's the head of innovation and education, she's constantly looking at opportunities where we can connect small businesses with larger opportunities. In the areas I mentioned, because we talked about cyber, we talked about life sciences, we have tax credits, because there's programmatic things, and that's part of the role of government, is be thoughtful, think about what the marketplace might need that could help them advance their business, grow their business. So we have tax credits around biotech, we have tax credits around cyber that are associated with companies who can make a minimal investment, and there's tax credits to the investors, things of that nature. So from a standpoint of programs, the interaction with higher ed and the schools, I mean, our community colleges, Montgomery, you're fortunate, you've got a great community college here. University System of Maryland, Shady Grove, between Dr. Pollard over at Montgomery and Stu Edelstein over at USM Shady Grove. But the community colleges, I said to a group of presidents recently, you've had a great run for the last couple decades, but I think your best years are straight ahead because community colleges are so vital to our economy in many, many different ways. And the other thing, Kelly, that I talk about often, you look at a Marriott Corporation, you look at Northrop Grumman, they're really big guys. But something that gets lost sometimes is between the two of them, if I just combine those two enterprises, and I can include Lockheed as well, headquartered right here in the neighborhood. But if you look at Northrop Grumman and Marriott, they do business with about 1,600 small businesses in the state of Maryland. And combined, it represents about just under $2 billion of procurement activities. So all of a sudden you look at that environment. That's why having big companies is important, because they create an ecosystem of small businesses, many of whom are going to take off like that.
Absolutely.
So again, we're trying to be proactive on innovation and interfacing and capital formation again. We have 34, 35 incubators in the state of Maryland. For a state of our size, sort of a medium-sized state, that's a lot.
It is, yeah.
So there's just lots of different things that are happening to improve the situation.
Well, it's exciting. It's an exciting time, right?
Thank you. Thanks,
We
Cal.
need good news in this day, right?
You're going to have to push me real hard to say something negative.
Well, we appreciate.
I'm a Baltimore kid, so I don't want to talk about the Orioles right now. And a lot of you probably don't want to talk about the Nationals.
And we can tell you're.
But at least you're not 57 games out of first place.
And we can tell that you're from Baltimore because you don't pronounce the T, right?
Yeah,
Baltimore.
it just sort of gets.
It just kind of rolls off, right?
It gets swallowed somewhere.
Well, this has been awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, you
Kelly.
so much for joining us today. We just appreciate everything that you do to support and uplift the state and economic development and the business community here. So thank you for trekking out to Montgomery County so early in the morning to just spend the morning with us.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you.
Thank you. So this concludes the Small Business Network for this month. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned. Next month we have another dynamic program for you. We invite you back. Almost same time, same place though, but we look forward to seeing you. Have a fantastic day.